On August 9, 2024, at the Oeste Regional Airport in Cascavel, Brazil, terminal operations were proceeding normally under a clear sky near midday. At the boarding gate, Voepass Flight 2283 was waiting, ready to begin its journey to São Paulo. This flight is one of the regular routes within Brazil, linking Cascavel Airport in Paraná with the busy Guarulhos International Airport. Cascavel is a city with significant agricultural development and a constantly expanding infrastructure, and its airport represents a crucial point for regional connectivity. That morning, pre-flight operations were proceeding normally. After fueling the plane and completing routine inspections, passengers began boarding the aircraft. On board were 58 passengers and 4 crew members, including 1 Portuguese, 3 Venezuelans, and the rest Brazilians. Captain Danilo Santos Romano, 35, led the cockpit along with First Officer Humberto de Campos Alencar Silva, 61. Flight attendants Deborah Soper Avila, 28, and Rubia Silva de Lima, 41, completed the crew. The ATR 72500, with 14 years of service, is a reliable twin-engine turboprop widely used for regional flights. Voepass acquired it in September 2022 from Pelita Air Service, Indonesia, where it was used to connect remote destinations across the archipelago. Its 2 Pratt & Whitney 127F engines make it ideal for short routes like this one. As passengers took their seats, the flight attendants gave the safety instructions and ensured that everyone was prepared. The cabin displayed the usual mix of travelers, some on business, others for tourism, all unaware of the impending tragedy. After making sure everything was in order, the pilots requested and received clearance to leave the boarding gate. Shortly after, the ATR 72500's engines roared to life, and the aircraft began to taxi smoothly from the terminal toward the runway. As the plane taxied, passengers felt the familiar anticipation of flight, some gazing out the windows, others adjusting their seatbelts. Communication between the cockpit and air traffic control remained smooth. The pilots received final instructions and approval for takeoff. Once on the runway, Flight 2283 began its climb towards São Paulo. Upon reaching its cruising altitude of 17,000 feet, approximately 5,200 meters, everything seemed normal. The aircraft moved at a constant speed of 300 knots, 556 kilometers per hour, following standard regional navigation procedures. However, as it approached an area where weather conditions could complicate the flight, the first problems began to appear. The crew detected signs of ice formation in the cockpit, a risk requiring constant attention. The situation grew more delicate as the aircraft entered this critical region, forcing the pilots to closely monitor the systems and maintain precise control. Around 1:22 p.m., Flight 2283 entered an area where a SIGMET warning indicated severe icing conditions between 12,000 and 21,000 feet of altitude. Ice accumulation can seriously affect any aircraft's performance, causing loss of lift and making control difficult. As the plane advanced into this area, the crew was fully aware of the danger. However, the de-icing systems began to be overwhelmed by the extreme conditions. Shortly after, the aircraft's speed abruptly dropped to 234 knots, a sign that it was suffering from the effects of accumulated ice. Almost immediately, the aircraft began to lose altitude alarmingly. Within seconds, Flight 283 descended about 13,100 feet, approximately 4,000 meters, entering what is known as a flat spin, a dangerous maneuver in which the plane descends while rotating around its vertical axis. Inside the cockpit, Captain Danilo Santos Romano and First Officer Humberto de Campos Alencar Silva faced a critical emergency. The rapid loss of altitude and sudden fall demanded precise and quick maneuvers to try to stabilize the aircraft. Extreme weather conditions complicated any recovery efforts and likely exceeded the capacity of the de-icing systems. During this emergency, the crew did not send distress signals, and communication with air traffic control was lost. It is not yet clear whether this was due to the pilot's complete focus on regaining control or the speed at which the situation deteriorated. In a matter of seconds, the flight's fate was sealed. Flight 2283 ended up crashing into the front yard of a house located in a gated community in the Capella de Viñedo neighborhood. Despite the magnitude of the impact, surprisingly, no one on the ground was injured. However, all 62 people on board, including passengers and crew, lost their lives in the tragedy. After the accident, Brazil's Aeronautical Accident Prevention and Investigation Center, CENIPA, immediately began investigations to clarify the causes of the event. That same day, CENIPA Director Marcelo Moreno confirmed that both the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder had been recovered and were in the institution's custody. Although it has not yet been determined with certainty what caused the accident, aviation experts have indicated that ice accumulation could have been a determining factor. However, it is too early to draw definitive conclusions, and the final report will be needed to know the official causes of the incident. All bodies on board were found in their seats, with heads between their knees, suggesting that the crew managed to warn passengers to adopt the impact position before the crash. This tragedy represented the first fatal accident in Brazilian commercial aviation since No Orleans Arias, Flight 4896 in 2011, and the first involving Voepass since its founding in 1995. Among the first hypotheses, specialists have pointed to ice accumulation on the wings as a possible factor contributing to the loss of control. The altitude and speed loss observed on Flight 2283, as well as the final stall entry, are consistent with similar scenarios recorded in previous accidents, such as Gol Flight 4184 and Gol Flight 3407, where turboprop planes experienced critical situations due to ice and incorrect pilot decisions. Preliminary data show that after the initial loss of altitude, the plane had a brief momentary climb before entering a definitive spin, a pattern similar to that observed in Gol Flight 3407. Although ATR's anti-ice systems have been improved since past accidents, some records indicate that Voepass ATR aircraft were not in the best operational condition. An unconfirmed hypothesis suggests that the flight captain requested an urgent descent from air traffic control due to severe ice formation, although this information has not yet been officially verified. Among the deceased was a dog traveling with 3 people: Venezuelan Jos Gladys Gonzalez, her mother, and her son Jocelyn. The family had arrived in Brazil 4 years earlier, seeking better opportunities but decided to continue their life in Colombia. This trip represented the beginning of that new stage in their search for a more stable life.